Good evening, everyone. Michelle from Monkey's House. Happy Thursday evening. Um, was trying to come up with a snappy name for tonight's talk, and I really want to talk about food temperature. And there's not, it's just not a snappy, it's not a snappy thing, but that doesn't mean it's not important. So it's one of those things that is controversial, and I can tell you what Dr. Morgan, who is an integrative vet who specializes in many things, starting with food therapy. But it was her studies in Chinese medicine that brought her to understand what food temperature is about, and that is our core energy, our qi. It's something we want to protect. We want to protect our energy, our cellular energy, our spiritual energy, our energy to get up and wash the dishes. We need to protect that and to value that. And things like extremes in temperature drain or strain the chi. Um, so Dr. Morgan says feed warm. And that's been my guideline that I've used all along. There's so many ways to heat up food, and many ways aren't the best. And I used to be one that used frozen Kongs for everything. I still do. Even though I say we feed warm stuff, I won't give a dog a frozen Kong for 2 meals in a row. I might give them a frozen Kong once a week, maybe twice a week. It's not a regular event, but it's something that I won't not do. And also, if your food isn't warm or if it isn't body temperature, don't let that stop you from eating it. If you want to give your dog an egg or some lettuce or something else and it's out of the fridge, do it. It's better than not doing it. But that said, we feed primarily raw and lightly cooked. And it's, for the most part, it's all provided. And it comes in 1 pound packages, like the way burgers do come, where the burgers come from the store. Hi, Dawn. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The way packaged beef comes from the store, and it's really easy. We pull it out the night before and then serve it in the morning. It's always completely thawed in the morning, but it's not necessarily warm. The easiest thing to do is to stick it in the microwave. It's also not the best thing to do. It's by all means, if you're going to microwave versus not microwave, microwave. I think all things in moderation is better than not doing things. Back in the olden days, I used to cook everything on our cooktop and let it cool before serving. And you would see me doing some strange things. Like I would stand outside on our front porch holding a really heavy pan of food and stirring it so that it would get cooler from the outside temperatures. It doesn't work so great in the summer. I've put stuff in the freezer to cool it down. It's not the best. It's not the best plan. For us, for me personally, what works best to feed the masses is to have everything prepared in advance and then just have to fix the temperature of it when I go to serve it. So our food, we either get it already cooked from All Provide, or we already cook it. We gently cook it ourselves. Hi, Ariel. Or we gently cook it ourselves, and it's all done in advance, so that in the morning or at dinner time, I'm just scooping it out. And for me, I will scoop it into one big bowl, and it's a glass bowl that sometimes I will stick it in the microwave. More times than not, I take either hot water and I add collagen to it, or I take bone broth and I'll put the bone broth in the microwave and not the food, and I'll heat up the bone broth and pour that over the food. That brings it to a makes it more moist, and it makes it it brings it up to a decent temperature. Another thing you can add is tea. Sorry, hang on one sec. You want to say hi? I know it's so hard to hold your head up, isn't it? I know, sweetie. You're doing good. You're doing good. Another thing you can add is tea. Anything that's naturally caffeine free. We don't really need to see me. We can see Ariel. Anything that's naturally caffeine free is great. There's a lot of mushroom teas. There's green teas. There's teas with turmeric in it. That's making me nuts. But there's teas, like again, making sure that they're naturally decaffeinated. Will this keep us busy? That that are great for bringing things to a much warmer temperature. I'd like to add teas to my raw food, and same thing. I'll put we go through about 3 pounds, or 3 to 4 pounds in a feeding. Hang on, don't be walking at everybody, sweetie. We go through about 3 to 4 pounds of raw in a feeding, and I really like to put in some hot tea in that, or some hot bone broth. And then I have it's a masher. I got it. It was actually a gift to me from Aunt Trish, who bought it at a Pampered Chef party, and it's fabulous. It just looks like kind of like a big cross, and you just mash away, and it's a great way to mix everything in and get it all hydrated and looking good and getting the temperature moved through it, and then serve it from there. I have a spoon. Now, I'm Italian, and exact recipes have never been a strength. But when you're switching to raw or home cooked, a lot of stuff is measured by weight, and that's how you decide. It's roughly 2 to 3% of their body weight a day in food. 2% if they're sluggish, 3% if they're more active. And that's just a guide, but it's an idea of where to start. And you divide it into how many times a day you feed. And so portion size is important, obviously. And I've got a spoon where I can tell in my head if I've got 2 ounces on there, if I've got 3 ounces, if I've got a half a pound. It's a big metal spoon with a head about this big, and I'm very Italian with it, and just able to decide if that's the right amount. I wanted to know, do you guys add anything into the food? Do you warm it up? Would that stop you from doing stuff? Would it encourage you to do stuff? I think it's important. I think it's important to be mindful of nutrition, and to know why you're making the choices you're making, and to know that little changes can make a big difference if you're so inclined. Some people say their dog is healthy, they're doing great, and I have to tell you, I'm a tiny bit jealous. Well, maybe a lot of it jealous. My life was easiest when I fed kibble. It was quickest, and it was fine for me. Worked for many, 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 many years until my dog started getting sick. And I lost my childhood dog when I was 27. Had her since I was 10. And towards the end of her life, I just felt so powerless to help her, and I didn't know what to do. And then Jeff and I were married, and we adopted our biologic dog. And we say biologic because we wanted him. We went to the shelter and chose him for no other reason than he was the cutest puppy we'd ever seen in our lives. And he was a great companion who we loved fiercely. And he was kind of the perfect dog. And we had him for 12 years. And in those 12 years, he had 12 surgeries. And I felt like I failed him so many times. I had so many regrets. And, they say know better, do better, but I did everything my vet said. I did everything they said, and still had regrets, and he still had all of those surgeries. Like, it just stinks. I think he was genetically not blessed. I think his mom also probably didn't have prenatal vitamins. But, you feel trapped. And so if you're doing well and you don't want to make a change, I think that's fine. I think that's if your dog is doing well, that's all we want in life is for our dogs. Well, we want a few things, but one of them is for our dogs to be doing well. But if you're stuck and don't know how to make a change, diet is one of the things that can make a big impact. Hi, Kathy. Thank you for joining us. I was laughing because at 1 minute to 6, I have, I don't know if you can see, I have the whole line of beds there. And there was about 5 dogs laying in them. Belinda is sharing a bed with Sammy, but everyone was laying in there nice and quiet. And Carbon, our dog, came in from outside, and he was kind of hyper and happy. You know how they come in the house when they've been out potty and it's cold out. He jumped over all of the beds in one big leap, and that set Rocky off, who started barking at him, and then JJ wanted to kill him, And then it's 1 minute to 6, and I'm trying to be zen, and there we go again. They know we're talking about them. Easy, guys. Easy, easy, easy. It's okay. It's okay. It's Rocky protecting us from the Amazon guy, and Tiggy just took off. So, right before we go to serve, we also make things like rabbit stew. We make bison stew. Hey guys. And to balance those, all provide is professionally formulated by a veterinarian, and it passes certain standards. It meets minimum nutritional standards set by AFCO. And, if you don't add anything else to your food, it's good enough. What would be better is if you added a little bit of omega-3 fish oil to it. But it really, aside from that, if your dog is in good health, it doesn't need anything else added. When you make whatever kind of stew you make or whatever kind of saute you make, it does need a little bit of balancing. Not every meal has to be balanced, certainly not all of the time, but to have them be the healthiest they can be, having it balanced makes a big difference. So we make rabbit stew for a couple of our dogs, and it just so happens that the 3 that eat it the most happen to be in kidney failure. So instead of putting the regular mineral mix, you can buy powdered mineral mixes that it's like 2 scoops per pound of cooked food. You just add in, and it just adds in the trace minerals and the calcium that's needed, the calcium and the phosphorus that's needed to support dogs. And you just add it in and serve. And I do that right before I serve it. But we have a few that are in kidney failure, and hang on, are you coming back up? We add a product called Eggshalent, Eggshalen, I think, Eggshalent. And it has very low phosphorus in it. And phosphorus is something you're always trying to pull out of their diet when they have kidney issues. So that's kind of a cheat that makes things easy. But we add it right at the time of serving. If I'm way back before Monkey's House, I used to cook for sick dogs that were in rescue. And I was cooking for a pregnant dog and sent over all that stuff. I put it in after I baked it before it cooled, so that it would I could stir it in and have it go evenly around, and send it over because it can be a lot to have people add in this and add in that. It's important not to pre-add your fish oils. They don't hold their nutritional value for very long, and they can start to go bad. So you really want to get the most bang for your buck by adding your omega-3s at the end. So at the time of serving, we add in our probiotics, but I'm very careful. Heat will kill those little buggers. So I'll get everything warm, and I'll get the medication stirred in if they get medications that they'll eat in their food, any other supplements, and then I'll very gently add the probiotics just to the corner or to the side, and stir them in just lightly so that they don't get too uncomfortable or harm them further. I'll also, like I said, add the oil in. I use omega-3 oils. I don't know if you guys use oil or capsules. Whatever you use, you just want to keep it not getting too hot. Tonight we added sardines, and that's the last thing to go on top, and it's actually kind of pretty. It makes, oops. Okay. One of us has gas, but anytime you can blame the dog, it's a good day. Is your head on there? Your head's on there. Here. You want to blame me? You can blame me. We're both blaming each other. But it looks very pretty, and it's just a sardine. The big dogs get a whole sardine. The little dogs get the medium dogs get a medium one, and the little ones get like about a third of a sardine. And we do that a couple times a week. Just looking here. Once in a while, I'll make a gravy, and I need that to be an appetite stimulant. And sometimes I'll just use a little bit of warm water. I'm very careful not to use hot, just warm water. And I'll use something called Amino B, and it's made by a company called RX. And it's really B vitamins, and it's used to stimulate appetite and also helps if they're a little bit anemic. And it smells kind of, I don't want to say like smoked bacon, but it smells a little bit smoked. And I'll mix that with a little bit of water and maybe like part of a cooked egg or gently cooked egg. and I'll whisk it in and try to make a gravy of that. Something to kind of cover stuff up to help them eat, or to just make it worth their while, so to speak. Does anybody have any questions right now about heating stuff up? Any stories about how they've never done it and they've fed frozen food to their dog for years and they're fine? Because Dr. Morgan will tell you that frozen food, she says it causes a chi stagnation, a disruption in the flow of their energy. And she says it can feed a cancer, it can cause a cancer, it doesn't help if they have cancer. And some of the things that she has taught me along the way, I thought I've been doing this wrong all of my life, or doing this bass-ackwards all of my life. Can you say bass-ackwards? I think I just said it. Well, I'm saying it. I say worse, so bass-ackwards it is. I've been doing stuff bass-ackwards all my life. And, you feel bad about it. And she said, it doesn't kill them. It's just that they could be healthier. They could be reaping more benefits, absorbing more food, have more energy. So don't sweat the small stuff. So if you're thinking about giving them some of your salad, but you're afraid it's too cold, give them some of your salad. Just don't give them the onions. And don't give them any dressing that might have xylitol in it. Xylitol is a real bugger. There's no rules about it. There's no warnings. Nothing has to be on the label except it has to say that it's in it. And it's fatal to dogs. So if you're going to give them some of the salad, I try to just make sure that there's no dressing on it at all. That makes it easy enough. Like I said, I still don't hesitate to give them a frozen Kong. I think that they need the nutritional benefit and the mental stimulation that Kongs offer. And I know that when I first had to give that up, that was tough for me. That's when I found bully sticks and marrow bones. Sometimes I'll use skins, not cod skins or salmon skins, and they'll either roll them up or they'll tie them in a knot, and it gives them some. The manufacturer ties them in a knot, not the dogs. But it just gives them a little bit of time of chewing and takes care of that stimulation for them. So that's another alternative if you're going, oh my goodness, I feed frozen Kongs all the time. Just try to rotate some other things in there. I wanted to say that our new pup, Shawn, is doing very well. She got into foster late last night. She's very, very sweet. She's very loud. She likes to scream at the top of her lungs to make sure she's heard. And she's going to be heard for the rest of her life, so that's good. Waiting to see when Dr. Knight can squeeze her in. This is one of those things that's an issue. Dr. Knight is really good. She always gets the Monkey's House dogs in. She's on our board of directors, and she's been, before, I said, this is what I need from a vet. Can you do that? And she said, yes, I like your mission. Like, we had a big talk about this way in advance years ago. And so I'm very grateful that she gets us in whenever we need to be in. But so we're just waiting to see where she can be squeezed in. Her mammary masses are going to have to come off. And they're, like I said, they're big. Some of them have ruptured. The cancer's come through. One of them has a hole that's oozing. So that most likely means that she's not spayed. As a matter of fact, it does mean she's not spayed. Her teeth are really bad. Her muzzle is swollen. And you can just see the inflammation, on her face. So she's going to need a decent size spay, mammary mass, and dental. We've had some dogs that can't tolerate anesthesia long enough to have that all done at once. So we always go for the spay first. That pulls out the hormones that feed the cancer. So that generally is where we start. And then from there we go to the dental, and we get the masses out. We kind of, go, because the dental is painful. Or not having a dental is painful. There you are. Are you back on TV? You are. You're the sweetest boy. Our sweetest boy, Tiggy, here. Tiggy, you want to tell him what you did today? He jumped up on the bed, which usually he needs help. He jumped up on the bed twice. Once was to run across it, and then the second time was to just jump on the bed and give me kisses, which was incredibly sweet. And it's little things like that that just warm my heart and keep me smiling for quite a while. Back to our new girl. So she's settling in. Very loving foster home. She's getting to snuggle with people and just getting to relax and decompress a little bit. She was really shaken up at the shelter. I'm not sure if the shelter is doing a deep clean or if they've had lapse in judgment. But they've moved the small dogs are in a small dog room where I'm not going to say it's quiet, but it's quieter. And keep being loud, Shawn. That's right, Kathy. We'll keep encouraging it. Um, the little dogs are in a small dog room, which is still stressful, but it's not as bad as being in with the main kennels. And they've moved him out into the hallway, which is busy and terrifying for little dogs. Terrifying. So I'm glad she's out. I'm glad she's with Kim, and just gonna get her through this period. We're gonna add. She's gonna have regular. She's gonna have physical blood work, probably a chest X-ray to see if cancer has spread to her lungs, and make sure her heart's okay. And when we do the blood work, we always add the 4DX, which is the test for Lyme disease, for heartworm, and 2 other tick-borne diseases. And we've since been adding in vitamin D to our screening tests when we first see dogs, just trying to see, because vitamin D is something our body regulates for us, and as we get older and we have kidney problems, not so easy for the body to do. And also if they don't have a good source of it from their food, or if they're not being fed good food, or if they were living on hills which had so much recall from vitamin D, it's just one of those things you want to know about, because it's a fat soluble vitamin. Fat soluble vitamins are not excreted; they can become toxic. So it's just something we've started screening for regularly. So she'll get the Royal Works, and Dr. Knight will come up with a plan. In this particular case, we're going to add a coagulation panel to this, and that will tell us if the body has the ability to coagulate adequately. We've had 2 other dogs with horrible memory masses that almost bled to death on the table, and Darla was one of them. Darla, we nearly lost Darla, and we had to stop the surgery. She just was spayed and closed up, and we had to wait a little while to go back and get those masses. So it's I don't want to be shocked. I don't want to be surprised. And if we can plan for something or change something, there's medications we can give to help the blood clot better. So we just want to be as prepared as we can be. So we're looking forward to her coming here. Right now she's resting and she's hydrating, and she's feeling the love, which is all that matters. I want to thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your supporters so much. Have a wonderful evening. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I will get to them as soon as I can. Have a great night. Take care. Bye-bye.